Jade Cargill to WWE, Adam Copeland to AEW, Will Ospreay to AEW, CM Punk to WWE. Is Mercedes Mone the next name to move, whether it's to WWE or become All Elite? We're going to talk about it and everything else in Black Wrestling, so stay tuned. This is WrstlXtra.
Yo. This is WrstlXtra. I'm your boy, A Dazzle, the Black Wrestling Advocate. Always joined by my trios team, Mex, the WrestleManiac, if you will. Yeah. And of course, the wise man, the omnipresent, Gerard Bonner. We're talking about returns. Mex listed off all these different people who have made returns or have appeared in new places. But the biggest return that everyone is talking about is that of Gerard Bonner back to WrstlXtra. He wasn't here last week.
Right. That is
well
right.
done.
Good to have you back, sir. Good to have you back.
It is good to be back.
No, it's great to have you back. But also, of course, the other big return that everyone is talking about, of course, is that of R-Truth.
Oh yes.
Yes, R-Truth is back. Survivor Series War Games was on Saturday, and of course, I'm now coining it return games because we saw the return of R-Truth, as I mentioned. Of course, Randy Orton, we kind of expected that, but the most unexpected one, and we will talk about it. I know we don't really talk about that kind of stuff on the show, but you can't miss out something as big as this. And that was the actual return that everyone is actually talking about, is that of CM Punk. Mex, just give us the rundown of how this went down and why we are here talking about the man that is CM Punk.
Yeah, we had the big men's War Games match in the main event of Survivor Series. It looked like we were heading for a Judgment Day win as they kind of slaughtered everyone on Cody's team. We were waiting for Randy to make his entrance, but they played a trick on us. Rhea Ripley came running down with the briefcase, with the referee. And I was like, okay, let's see what happens here. But they didn't get to ring the bell and cash it in before Randy Orton's music hit. He had a massive pop. He came back, looked great, in great shape.
Phenomenal.
Came into the ring, hit the greatest hits. Don't think he took a bump in the time he was in the match at all. And he, after his enormous RKO to McDonough, he just laid the table for his good mate Cody to get the win on Damian Priest. So yeah, their team won. Doing all the celebrations in the ring. They give us the little copyright sticker in the corner. You think it's all over. For those of us that have watched NXT, though, we know just give it a couple more seconds.
Right.
And we were repaid for our faith because, yeah, the unbelievable happened. Although it was, mentioned, it could happen. He's a free agent. Of course, as we all know, this Survivor Series was slated for Chicago, whilst CM Punk still worked for AEW. So you can't say they put it in Chicago for him. This wasn't in the plans. This is literally stars aligning. And CM Punk made his return to WWE after nearly 10 years away from WWE, 2 or 3 months away from obviously AEW. Absolutely crazy. We've seen the reactions of many a wrestler that were ringside and the interviewees and the commentators. Randy Orton, I don't know if you guys caught his reaction. He was just sitting on the chair as casual as you like. Randy Orton waving at CM Punk and stuff. CM Punk waves back at him like didn't care. But yeah, we're in for something special with the return of CM Punk.
Gerard, just talk to me about all the controversies, all the rumors, or the reactions from, as Mick said, the commentators, some of the wrestlers, and what it's meant even to some of the guys back in AEW as well.
Sure. So, CM Punk has long been one of the most polarizing figures in all of pro wrestling, no matter where he is. And whenever he shows up, people are going to talk. Some people are going to be happy. Some people are not. It certainly seemed as though Seth Rollins may have been one of the more unhappier figures in WWE. Though there's this interesting video floating around with Michael Cole responding, and he's dancing while Corey Graves is looking extremely stoic. So yeah, it's really interesting. Obviously, there are some people in AEW who seem to be very happy about this. I think we're living in a different world right now. When I say a different world, I think the wrestling world, maybe 5, even 10 years ago, was a place where you could not openly express congratulations for someone moving on. You just couldn't do that. It would seem like you're being disloyal to your brand. But I think things have changed a bit, and I'm not really sure that most in AEW have had the opportunity to speak one way or the other on the exit or the impact of CM Punk. And so ultimately, I look at it like this: someone gets an opportunity who was fired to work again. So win, however you look at it. Now, certainly, I think in the space of WWE, and it really hit me on Raw last night, WWE is literally stacked with stars. Like, this was not necessarily the case maybe 5 years ago, but where we are right now, I'm going to be daring enough to say we are almost at an Attitude Era-esque space in terms of the star power that hits your TV every segment right now. Whether Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Seth Rollins, and that's just a handful of names. Literally every segment on Raw these days is like massive. And we're looking at people who earlier this year were the main star. Sami Zayn, right? I mean, think about what this year has done. We had Sami Zayn at the top of the year where people were wondering, is he going to take Cody's spot at WrestleMania? I mean, Sami, Cody, KO, this whole Judgment Day thing, Rhea Ripley. I mean, like, the star power right now in WWE is unlike anything we've seen in many a year. And adding CM Punk to that, it's loaded. It's really, really loaded.
Just to add to
Very
that,
true.
The Sami one really dawned on me during the show because he hadn't been on the show, and then the Drew McIntyre backstage, and then Sami came into the picture. It's like, oh my god, like Sami, like you just said, he main evented Elimination Chamber,
yes,
with Roman Reigns. He main evented night 1 of WrestleMania. That's they have actually got too many guys at this point. Like, and I've just seen that Randy Orton is going to be on SmackDown on Friday. I personally think that should probably be like a permanent move. It could even be like a bit of an interim feud for Roman into the new year. But yeah, they just need to kind of make the table a bit even because they've got hella guys, like you're saying.
It's been interesting, some of the things that I've seen on socials over the last couple of days. I think it was even WWE themselves who kind of threw up all the different faces that have returned. Obviously John Cena, The Rock made a return. CM Punk, of course, Carlito, a few others, R-Truth. All of these people have made return to WWE, and that's been in the last 6 months, maybe, probably less.
3 months.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's crazy to think, and even with the list that Mex revealed at the start of the show as well, with all these different people in different places, with Adam Copeland in AEW, with Will Ospreay finally actually signing with AEW, even him being in Impact was unheard of, and all the rest of it. Like, always get to the time of the year, and I've noticed every year for the last maybe 2 or 3 years we've been doing this show. And we talk about all the stuff that's happened, and we're like, how is this going to be topped next year? And it happens every single time. It's crazy. The landscape of wrestling right now is absolutely phenomenal. And we talk about the star power in WWE. We mentioned Jade Cargill obviously signing and stuff. But Mex mentioned the name that is now probably the last major free agent that is available. And now there's talks of it not being as obvious as to where she's gonna where she'll make her home, I guess, and sign. So obviously we're talking about Mercedes Mone, and at the start of the year she made a big impact in January in New Japan, did her thing there. Unfortunately, got injured. There was talks of her coming to AEW, but now it doesn't quite seem as though that is obvious. Mix, just give me like what the talk has been over the last 24 hours in terms of Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's being reported by I guess I won't say the most reputable of sources, but sources nonetheless, that it's very possible that she could return to WWE. Like, there's been teases, there's obviously an ongoing feud right now with Bailey and Control and maybe base this partner Sasha Banks. I think the thing with the AEW thing that has always intrigued everyone, even with when Mercedes was fully fit, I don't think anyone truly believed she was ever going to sign for AEW. It would have always been her appearance kind of deal. Now, when, like I put it in the intro, it's like AEW now, make your moves. Like, are you going to do something? Are you going to maybe give her such a position that she can't turn down a permanent move? Maybe what AEW might want, kind of again, even playing field, a pay per play or a pay per appearance deal just isn't enough. They need a full time basis sort of thing. So, I mean, we know obviously WWE is quote unquote home for her, and the door was wide open if she ever wanted to return. Just test the waters. And we know AEW, she's been there, she's been on their program, and to an extent, it's just so she's fit when she turn up. I think it's maybe now, does Tony even get her in before she is, 100% ready to go for a match? Do we just kind of wrap her up, use the same kind of force, aggressive nature that he used with making sure Ospreay was signed, getting her the books so that WWE's programming can't improve even further, and then she's like, maybe I might just go back over there. So it's a game of chess almost at this point, and to be honest, the real winner is Mercedes of where she's going to land. She's going to have a lot of nice, lucrative offers with maybe add-ons in the shape of creative in some places over others. But yeah, currently there's nothing out there from, like I say, the major reputable sources saying where she may go, but a lot of, I guess, the insiders and stuff are speculating that it's probably more so a WWE return than an AEW signing at the minute.
What's interesting to me with the two sides or her options, I guess, with both companies is AEW gives her, if she signed with AEW on a permanent basis and not kind of like a per appearance, it offers her a better schedule in that respect for her to pursue the other things. But what WWE does is give her a better opportunity to follow over with these things, because obviously with TKO, obviously they also own Endeavor, the talent company as well. They're linked to all sorts of things. We've seen Bianca Belair kind of get a few things from that. We're guessing that that's probably a big part of why Jay joined WWE as well. So it's, as you said, I've been winning for Mercedes, but it's like there are all these little things that we have no clue about that she has to think about as well. Gerard, what are your thoughts in terms of where do you think she should go, in your opinion?
That's a tough one, because it ends up ultimately being based on what she wants, right? And she could want a number of things. So, for instance, if She's solely looking at, hey, where can I have the best matches with competition I've never faced before? Then that's one option, which I think Impact would probably end up leading those options. Where do I want to be seen on, kind of this national / global level? Okay, well, then where do you go? Is the question. I want to be able to wrestle and yet pursue Hollywood. Okay, so that's a different answer. So, and I think each of these companies that are out there offer her something different. And here's the other part that we haven't even considered, which likely wouldn't come up in this particular show, but becomes a factor. We're seeing a lot of things in women's wrestling we've never seen before. Like if you had told me at the top of 2023 that Ronda Rousey would be doing a tour of the independents and would show up on Ring of Honor, not AEW, but Ring of Honor, I would have called you a bold-faced liar, but that's where we are. So there's a template now that's being created that says you can do what you want. So it does really depend on what Mercedes wants. Does she want, the match with Athena? Does she want it on an ROH scale, or does she want it on some other scale that needs to be created? I don't know. And I think it ultimately is going to run into what she wants. Her whole reason for going to New Japan and not AEW was because her whole dream was to wrestle in Japan. So now that that's somewhat been done, and I say somewhat because it hasn't been a lot of it, what does she want to do? Does she still want to go back to Japan? I mean, does she still want to say, hey, I haven't fulfilled all that I intended to do, so let me go over there? So ultimately, it'll depend on what she does. In terms of where I think she should go at this particular point, I don't know that she necessarily has accomplished what she set out to do in leaving WWE in the first place. So for me, I think it's important for her to fully establish that she is a worldwide star outside of WWE before returning. That's the one thing that, Punk and Cody and Bobby Lashley and several others did who left. They established themselves as can't miss stars. So when WWE brought them back, it made a lot of sense. So she needs to, dare I say, finish her story outside of WWE before returning. And I don't think she's come close to doing that yet.
And to quote someone else as well, obviously CM Punk with his promo quoted a certain wise man who also said he needed to leave the company before coming back in order to get what he wants. And I believe myself, I think I'm in the same space as you when it comes to Mercedes. I think she still has time to do whatever she needs to do. As you said, she hasn't accomplished not even half of the things that we believe she wanted to. She still hasn't wrestled in Mexico yet either. There's still so many stars in Japan. Her run in Japan lasted 3 or 4 months, if that.
3 or 4 matches.
Exactly that as well. So I think for me, that if we're talking about the bigger companies, the AEW thing seems a little bit of a better choice for her. It gives her space to do everything else, and there's more than enough time for her to make a return to WWE. And as I've always said as well, to come back as an undeniable star. Yes, she could come back and she'll get the big pop now. She definitely would. But I think there's still something missing or more that she can accomplish and achieve before making that return back.
Can I just add, as like a devil's advocate sort of thing? I feel like, of course, she's been injured, right? But I feel like, especially Japan, New Japan, they have let her down in this mission she has to accomplish in terms of just how they have treated this division. I think it speaks volumes that the inaugural IWGP Women's Champion, who was just champion about this time last year when they introduced that belt early, this year, she now works for WWE,
right?
And of course Mercedes was next, and even in her absence, they have not kept that belt alive.
Mm-mm.
Like they haven't made something that she'd be yearning to fight back for and win again sort of thing. And it just makes me think, even if she was to win it again and then maybe leave the company to go wherever, what happens to it? Will this happen to it again? Sort of thing. Like it's like especially we know with her as well, she's on a mission of winning wrestling. AEW. I think I counted the other day. There is no more than 5 matches for her in AEW. And of course, the way they tell stories and stuff like that, those 5 matches could probably last her the best part of 18 months, 2 years, really, truly. Like, that could be a nice little stretch there. For me, it's impact or bust. Mexico is a bit of fun, respectfully. Like,
Yeah, of course.
It's good wrestling, but just in terms of mainstream, it's not there yet, I would say. But it just puts you cool. It's impact or bust, and then it's like, again, if I'm being respectful, you leave WWE to go to Impact, sort of, like, on purpose. So, I mean, so I feel like the whole, and like Gerard was saying, we haven't necessarily seen her maybe in these other spaces that she wanted to go into, probably because of injury as well. I feel like her whole, everything she wanted to achieve has kind of fallen apart. And it's not, let me just grab the escape rope and run back to where I know in WWE. No, I'm not saying. But I think, she's been unfortunate. I think some of these companies, like in Japan, haven't necessarily helped her MO. So there is still like a lot of work. When she is fit and comes back, it's basically starting again. Right? It's basically like nothing happened when she turned up in Japan earlier this year. It's literally starting from scratch because, like I said, since she turned up on the 4th of January this year, she's probably had about 3 or 4 matches. Max.
4.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot of hard graft. She's the person to do it. I back her to do it, but these companies and stuff have to kind of help her on that mission as well, in my opinion.
It's been very intriguing as well. Kind of looking at the socials, seeing what's going on, especially with we talked about Cody returning to WWE, CM Punk now being back, Jade making a move to WWE, Kyrie moving from New Japan back to WWE as well. We've also heard how QT Marshall's now left AEW. There are just so many things in AEW and New Japan, even, as you said, with the way that they've treated the women's division and stuff like that, that actually makes me think that now would be the time for her to go back to WWE. But at the same time, because of this lack of accomplishing the goals that she wanted to achieve while being outside of WWE, there are so many options for her, and it's a very difficult kind of, I'm sure for her, a very difficult choice to make right now. If you're looking at money and opportunity and grabbing, jumping on the bandwagon, so to speak, but not in a follower kind of sense, but in an opportunity type of way, WWE is the place to go. It just makes sense. Everywhere else just seems to be sinking, or their issues are coming to the fore quite a lot right now, where WWE are kind of, looking or reminding us that they are, the top of the food chain when it comes to pro wrestling. So it's a very difficult choice to make, and I can't say either way which one's the better choice. But for me, again, it's just about her accomplishing goals, and she has time. But are these companies going to do enough for her to make her want to achieve those goals again, or have that same fire that she had at the start of this year to achieve all of those things? It's going to be very interesting to see how she plays the next couple of months and what decisions she ends up making. Of course, the other thing that's been very interesting when it comes to the socials is it's what we're used to. We're very used to it, but for me, I've been looking at in preparing for the show, I've been looking at a few clips and whatever else on Instagram and on YouTube and blah, blah, blah. And every single post, whether related, actually, no, every single post that's not even related to this guy, we're seeing fans doing this whole talk of, AEW is now dead. AEW is messed up with CM Punk, blah, 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 blah. Gerard, you yourself had a very particular view on this on yesterday's WWT Live, and just give me your thoughts on just how this, what we call the wrestling community, has reacted to Punk returning to WWE.
I think it's so interesting, and you guys can go find the full rant, which is out there. But I want to say this: I am concerned that wrestling fans tend to think that one person will make or break a company. Okay, there are people who I'm realizing now have heard of the myth or the imagery of a Stone Cold Steve Austin, and you look, oh my God, he was amazing, oh he was incredible, oh my God, but you forgot that same Stone Cold Steve Austin got upset at the idea of losing to Brock Lesnar in a round 1 King of the Ring qualifier match, and said, instead of doing this, I'm going home. So if the biggest star in the WWE decided to go home, and here we are 20 years later, and the WWE is worth more money than they've ever been, then it's clear that one star does not stop the show. People thought that Jade leaving was the end. People thought that Cody leaving was the end. I will say this: I think it's a challenging space, but you have to stick around in pro wrestling enough to learn there are cycles to all of this. Okay. These same people 5 years ago thought that, or 4 years ago thought, oh my God, AEW is the greatest thing that happened in the world because all these people are leaving WWE and going to AEW, right? We've seen this happen tons of times. And I just think it's an unfortunate thing that wrestling fans, and this is a larger issue, it's bigger than wrestling fans, it's the whole world right now, who one thought, one byline, one headline, and all of a sudden you're now talking about the end of a thing. Let me say this: we happen to be in the healthiest time, I believe, ever for the sport of pro wrestling. Not just, and that means this, not just one company is winning right now. Okay. WWE is doing record numbers, but we forgot it's only been the last year or two that the fans have actually been happy with the content of WWE. Okay. And again, WWE has survived its own challenges, but the addition of AEW, the resurgence of Impact, the rise of what's happening on the independent circuit, there are so many places that are actually winning right now. To wish the death of a company or to speculate the death of a company, you obviously haven't lived through the death of a wrestling company. Because the death of a wrestling company is not a pretty thing. Several of us were around when WCW closed its doors. That didn't feel good. It didn't feel good. You think, oh my God, WWE won the war, great. And then you realized, okay, I don't have another station to turn to when it comes to wrestling. Oh, snap. What happens to all of these wrestlers? What happens to the commentators? What happens to the cameramen? What happens to the people who are working in the front office? There's a lot of people that end up not working, that end up losing jobs and end up losing livelihood if a company closes. People forget about the closing of ECW. Those were not great moments in pro wrestling history. They were not. And so I think as wrestling fans, we got to do better. Could it be a tough time? Well, we don't even know because it's not even been a week. And let's be clear, AEW chose to separate from CM Punk. It's not like CM Punk left them and then jumped ship. They got rid of him. So if I'm AEW, my hope is, well, I'm glad he found work, but we need to be focused on what we're doing. They've just announced a whole new tournament, all kinds of things. They're adding pay-per-views. AEW should focus on what AEW needs to focus on. And as I've said before, wrestling fans, whatever it is that you like that, but do not wish the death of a wrestling company. Don't do that because you're hurting yourself and tons of other people.
For sure. For sure, and it's crazy. You talk about, you know, when WCW had to close its doors, when ECW did the same thing, and we felt as though it was like almost like a dream opportunity for WWE when we had the whole invasion thing, and for a time it felt like that.
A small time.
But within a few years, we were like, all right, so what are they doing with this person? Where's that person? All the rest of it. Some of these people completely disappeared. Literally had no work forever.
I mean, think about how people have talked about how stacked the roster is on AEW, and we talked about how stacked it is on WWE. Here's the thing: there are only so many hours of television available. Right. Okay. And you know what we're experiencing now, where wrestling is on every day of the week. That wasn't the case 5 years ago. 5 years ago, wrestling was only on Monday, Friday, and Thursday. We can literally turn on our TV screens now and watch wrestling whenever we want. That's because there are multiple companies. WWE is not going to automatically just get, you know, 5 more TV shows to accommodate all of this additional talent. So there's another battle for this type of real estate on TV. So people, let's just do better. Let's do better. Simple,
and the beauty of these stars being in so many different companies that have the money to thrive as well. You know, with AEW coming through, Impact on this resurgence and kind of going back to the TNA thing, them just having Will Ospreay, that was a lot. You know, we're seeing the likes of Jay White, MJF, Adam Cole, Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho, all of these people on AEW as well. To be missing CM Punk, that's not the end of anything. It's not the end of anything. Yes, it's numbers. Yes, it's merch numbers and stuff like that. But to think that a company's gonna die, and yes, we're hearing all the talk of how difficult it is in the back, and the young guys this and the young guys that, and VPs leaving and blah blah blah. Yes, it's difficult times. Yes, that, you know, not everything's perfect. But as I love to say all the time, the problems that AEW are facing are just simply pro wrestling problems. It is just what it is. It is just what it is. And they, as you said, Gerard, you know, they will have to focus on that and do their thing. And I don't think it's dying. Like, it's interesting, again, going through clips and all the rest of it from the weekend and the past week. I'm seeing everything. And you know what? I'm actually a lot more interested in what's happening with everything in wrestling in general than simply just the thing I used to do probably back a year, the last 2 years, of just focusing on the black wrestlers. Whereas now I'm literally interested in everything, because there are stories that are being told. There are people doing great things. There are people on the come up. You know, we're seeing, me and Mex mentioned this last week, when I forgot, Julia Hart won the TBS championship, just how good that felt. You know, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but even just seeing Josh Briggs beat Carmelo Hayes, I was like, Lexus King coming through, you know what I mean? All these different people. It's just nice to be in this space right now. Pro wrestling is in a very, very good place. Very, very good place.
Bro, the tribalism has no intelligence. There is
none.
I just find it so crazy.
It's crazy because, like, if WWE folded today, do you think that AEW wouldn't become complacent and wouldn't be putting out the best product? Like, the WWE's improvement is obviously down to a new competitor in the market, a new guy at the top. Vince, Vince has moved away. Like, this is what it should be, a competitive market, and then we as fans eat the best, because then everyone is chasing like Dynamite tomorrow, in essence, should be excellent because of all the attention WWE has garnered over the weekend. They should think, right, I need to put on a great show tonight to still remind people we're here. Yeah, that guy that used to work here just turned up over there, but we're going to show you tonight what we can really do. And it should be, that is the kind of tit for tat I'm interested in. Not, you know, name dropping and dissing and, oh, let's hope they fail. And I ain't got time for that. Like, I just want to watch good wrestling. So it's the tribalism that needs to stop. Like I always say, my father doesn't own any of these companies. I'm not tied to them. I shouldn't care about them, like, per se. I care about the wrestlers and a good product. And that's as far as, you know, my investment should go, not wishing on one of their downfalls.
It's crazy. I've seen a few comments where some people were upset that CM Punk didn't take a pop at AEW in his promo on Raw yesterday.
That's not even WWE style.
Not at all. Not in the slightest. Their style is to not mention them. That's how you make them feel as though they're nothing. Just ignore them.
Mm-hmm.
Simple. It's crazy. It's crazy. But speaking of the other company, that being AEW, and people on the come up as well, you know, we are definitely in the cloud that is Swerve Strickland right now. Swerve is now, you know, it's official that he's part of the Continental Classic, a move that I said they should have done. I know Mex is under the thinking that, you know, if he's there, he has to win it. And I'm thinking the same thing. And his first match was against Jay Lethal. And he picked up the win, of course, got his first 3 points. Swerve being part of the, I think it's the Gold League, is it? With the two leagues for the Continental Classic. Mex, just give me your thoughts on Swerve's performance and his chances, realistic chances in your mind in this Continental Classic.
I can't lie, I was a bit disappointed to see him wrestle, you know, a matter of days removed from that Texas Death Match. I thought, you don't need to do this. Like, give him a week off and sell it. You know, like he's just went through that match. He's coming back in a week's time. He wasn't medically cleared to have the match this week, so we're gonna kind of shift it around or whatever the case is. However, when his music hit, Whose House, and the reaction, I get it. You have to cash in on those kind of things. Like he was always, you know, all weekend, especially because the main event, all the bells and whistles in the world to get there. Like Swerve was the hottest thing, and so they cashed in on it. I get it. The Continental Classic is a very interesting one because this tournament, this fake Triple Crown thing they're trying, I don't really know. It feels a bit, and of course, the performances within the actual tournament will make it feel big time, I guess. So maybe still waiting to kind of kick into gear 6, if you like. But it feels a bit mid-cardish. And like I was saying, like if we're not going to make Swerve world champion immediately following Full Gear, I would have, you know, put OC on the plate for him. Orange Cassidy versus Swerve in maybe 2-3 weeks time. He takes the international championship, which has been built up very well, predominantly because of OC. So I'm a bit on the fence with this. I feel like, especially because it's going to take some weeks for us to know, right, is Swerve going to be top of the league?
Right.
And then he's going to win it with whoever's won the blue side of things. I don't know. I just feel like when is it? 30th of December, the final?
Yes, that's
the pay-per-view. I just feel like it's a bit far away. Like, let's cash some more checks. Let's make this money with Swerve. Like, I just feel it's there on the plate. The tournament, it was good. Like, him and Jay Lethal was a very good match, but like it didn't really go up a level, and we literally just seen the madness from the Full Gear show. So it was good. He got the win. That's the most important thing. Still big reaction. People still happy to see him. People still, you know, booking him that, you know, literally I've seen the time span. I've seen the time span shorten. We were talking, you know, 18 months or whatever the case is that he should become champion. People are literally saying like the next 6 months this needs to happen, sort of thing. So it's good. The momentum, the hype is still there. I just feel like this tournament may just slow him, like cool him down a bit. But we'll see.
Gerard, just remind us of everyone that's kind of you know, a part of this Continental Classic, and who Swerve has to kind of look better than in order to come on top of this and come out as this Triple Crown Continental champion.
For sure. So let's talk about both of the leagues, because there's a blue league and a gold league. So the blue league features Brody King, Claudio Castagnoli, Andrade El Idolo, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Garcia, and the current ROH and New Japan Strong Openweight champion Eddie Kingston. The Gold League features Swerve, along with Jay White, John Moxley, Jay Lethal, Mark Briscoe, and Roosh. So I think it's pretty stacked when you consider you have several former world champions that are in both of these leagues. To me, I actually think this is a good thing for Swerve, because what it's going to do in the next month is the way this tournament, for those who don't know, it's a round robin kind of tournament, which means you're going to have to fight everybody in your league. So that means we're guaranteed, of course, to see him against Mark Briscoe, but the matches I want to see are him and Roosh, him and Jay White
next week,
and him and John
Moxley. Yeah, him and Jay White tomorrow.
Yeah. So I mean, these are the matches that, when you think about it, this is going to propel him to the world title space. Jay White just main evented the pay-per-view a couple of weeks ago for the world title. So Swerve beats him. Wow. And of course, Moxley. I mean, that's self-explanatory. So we've put him in a great league, and I don't know who comes out of the blue league. I'm imagining, the blue league is weird. And I only say it's weird because you could argue that Claudio, you could argue Brody King. How do you look past Bryan Danielson if this is his last tournament?
Right.
But then you've got Eddie Kingston, who's put both of his titles on the line. So I don't know, but I do feel like Swerve, strangely enough, should come out of all of this winning this thing. Now, I want to be careful when I say what I'm about to say, but I think it gets I understand the attempts that are being made to make this tournament seem very prestigious. But I think when you throw too many titles in there, it becomes convoluted. And then you have to think about what's next. So if the Ring of Honor, New Japan, and this new Continental Classic title, whatever that is, if you're getting 3 titles in the first tournament, what happens in the second one?
Jeez.
Does it become automatic that you have to put those championships on the line? And then I'm not too cool with the whole unification word when you're not really unifying the titles. It's just one person with all 3 titles.
Yeah.
There's a better way.
A trophy and say the winner is the #1 contender for the world title at Revolution.
That's what the G1 does.
Simple.
Simple. Because my other thought is, if you're a champion, then you have to defend your title. So then are you saying that this guy, whoever wins, could potentially lose the championship, and now we're running around for a year defending a Continental Classic title, and then, what's the most important title and what's the hierarchy of these championships in AEW? We all can assume that the world title is #1, but what's #2? Is it the TNT title? Is it the International Championship? And now is it this Continental Classic? And just by virtue of definition, what is the difference between something that's continental and something that's international?
And world.
Right?
We're going to have an AEW Universal Championship very soon.
Yeah, right. And then the Global Championship.
Galaxy title.
The Galaxy title, we just need clear definition. At least when we know it's the U.S. title and then an Intercontinental. Okay, we know they're covering different spaces. What are we covering? I just want it to make sense to, people who use the English language.
And that's the difficulty with this whole Triple Crown thing. We know it's not a unification. I don't think AEW have said that. People thought that straight away.
Oh no, he said unify. Tony Khan said unify.
Oh, I've heard. Oh,
but,
wow. Okay.
But yeah, that's where we got this from. He literally in the announcement said unify, but it's not really a unification. It's just one person that'll have those 3 titles. So because that's equally confusing when you consider Ring of Honor has their final battle pay-per-view on December 15th, where in theory, can Eddie Kingston even defend that title there if the title is locked up in this Continental Classic?
Well, he shouldn't, because he and if you noticed, when Eddie Kingston announced his entry, he said, in every match I'm in, I'm going to defend these, So then it's like afterwards, AEW added it to the prize. But Eddie planned to go through and just defend it every time. So truth be told, Eddie's not even a champion anymore because he lost his first round match to Brody King.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Brody King should be walking around with those belts.
Yes.
And basically, he's in essence, he's relinquished the titles,
but he
until the tournament's done.
Right. They have those titles sitting there with the Continental Classic title, which is yet to be revealed. So
he never walked in or walked out with them.
Very different.
It's not the Continental Classic; it's the Confusion Classic, because I just don't know what's going on right now.
I hate to do this, but AEW 2019, 2020, 2021 doesn't make this mistake because it's planned out. Right. Even remember at the end of Full Gear, we had 4 people in this tournament announced, and then they said the first match of the tournament's on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Wow, you're gonna let us know who else is in the tournament then?
And then they tell us early in the day.
Right. Yeah, to put it together, which was nice, but we could have done that earlier to build towards it. And then you have vignettes of people stating their claim, like I'm gonna really take this seriously, I'm gonna do this, blah blah blah. Like, you have literally slapped this together in 3 days. Mm-hmm. Now you've got all the titles in your mid card and shows you don't care about on the line. New Japan giving them their strong titles, like yeah, take that one as well. We don't really care about that. What's the meaning of this? Like.
And this is the thing, like the immediate future, like Gerard said as well, like, whoever wins this tournament, do they then, when they have a match, defend all 3 titles? Are they gonna drop one of the titles? Are they gonna relinquish the other 2 in order to hold the Continental Classic? What happens when the next Continental Classic happens? Is it for the title? Is it for the number 1 contendership for the title? What happens in between this? I just don't understand, and it seems to become an AEW thing to where things are just not clear or make sense.
This is why wrestling fans, if you're going to get concerned about a company, don't pay so much attention to who's in front of the camera that's leaving. Pay attention to who's leaving behind the camera.
For sure.
Because that's the nuts and bolts of any organization. That's what you should pay attention to. And what we can all acknowledge is the company has been different since certain people who were once in leadership left the company. Now, if they had an on-screen role, so be it, but we knew they had an off-screen role. And that off-screen role obviously was important because we saw the entire presentation of the company change.
Mm-hmm. And a certain somebody who was just left, who was very close to that same on and off screen important person, which makes me think even more. And we could go into a discussion about this as well. It just makes me think, with Cody now being in WWE, with QT leaving, with Jade in WWE, with Punk now in WWE, Ricky Starks is going there. It's confirmed, 100% confirmed. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's a foregone conclusion because he was very vocal when CM Punk left, singing CM Punk's praises. He became the top heel on Collision because of CM Punk. We've seen him with Cody Rhodes.
Cody batted hard for Ricky Starks to come on full time. Punk made Ricky Starks, brought him to life in front of us after years of I say years, it obviously wasn't that long, but years of an underwhelming run in AEW. It was Punk on Collision that said, right, this is the guy. Let's push this guy.
Right.
The chances are you're going to end up where these guys are now, sort of thing. QT, in his statement the other night, he said the company's direction is going this way.
That's what he said.
Yeah, I'm going to go in another direction. Like, it is what it is.
Ricky and Jade are good friends, very vocal about each other on the socials and stuff as well. Ricky still every now and again turns up at the Nightmare Factory to train and all the rest of it. Now QT's gone. Cody's over. Come on. It's not even a discussion. It's a foregone conclusion. It's just a matter of time now. That's it.
It's when. It's just when.
Simple as that. Moving away, because we can get into the Ricky Starks thing again. I would love to. But we were talking about someone on the rise being Swerve, but someone who seems to be on a bit of not a downward spiral, but a bit of a losing streak, is the man, that is Carmelo Hayes. He had his qualifying match for the Iron Survivor match last week against Josh Briggs. I think we need to stop making predictions as to what's going to happen on NXT because, boy, 2 weeks in a row, we've had the complete opposite to what we thought was a foregone conclusion. So what happened was Josh Briggs, who looked absolutely amazing in that match, and I'm so glad he did because I've been waiting for Josh Briggs to have a singles run ever since even before he came to NXT. Because if anyone knows of Josh Briggs back in his time in Evolve, that man was an absolute menace. He was absolutely amazing. So to see him kind of coming through and getting that match like that last week was great, but unfortunately at the expense of Carmelo Hayes. Gerard, what do you think this does now to this whole thing with Carmelo, Trick, and of course Lexis King, who was involved in the outcome of last week's match?
I think this really starts to grind the gears of Carmelo Hayes. I just had this thought about, remember there was a conversation that happened with Carmelo Hayes and Bron Breakker. And Bron Breakker is just like, I'm the only one who knows the pressure of being champion. And then, once you lose it, the people leave you and all these things happen. And it's literally like that's what's happening. I mean, none of us would have ever bet that Josh Briggs would have defeated Carmelo Hayes. But it happened. And I think Carmelo's now got to deal with, oh my God, Trick is in the Iron Survivor Challenge and not me.
Right.
And obviously I think he's going to go after Lexis King. But I think he's going after Lexis King as a way to ultimately get to Trick because he's still jealous. That's the thing. He's jealous and it's going to come out. It's going to come out one way or the other. I don't know how it's going to come out, but I think the road there, it's going to be crazy. And I think ultimately he's going to say something. It's going to have the snowball effect. And he's going to drop the promo of life. And our feelings are all going to get hurt because we know the match is coming. But I think this is really going to start to move things along as Carmelo moves in that direction.
I think what's interesting about this whole thing, for me, I thought it was going to be a thing where Carmelo qualifies for the match and then we'll see the blowout between them two during the Iron Survivor match. What's interesting about this whole thing with Lexis King, whenever you watch anything like one of those Cup series or anything like that, you got the informant who's not supposed to say anything, but then he goes around the hood and kind of tells everyone, and then the big boss gets upset. I feel like Lexis is the informant that did this, that, whatever else for Carmelo, and Carmelo is trying to tell him to shut up. And it's all going to come out. It's all going to come out at some point. And I think that's the direction it's going to go. I believe that's what it is. Carmelo got Lexis to do whatever to attack Trick. And Lexis is like, well, I've got my money now, so I'm going to do whatever I want. I don't care whether it messes up your thing or not. And I think that's what's happening. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic between these three. And I didn't think you could add a dynamic to what's already going on, but I think they've done it, and they've done it brilliantly. It's going to be interesting. Very.
Yeah, I think the story in general is just excellent. Like, this is going to stand and deliver. This is going all the way to April. They're not in a rush to tell this story. They're gonna obviously we'll see Trick in this match next month. Who knows? Carmelo might be ringside to support his mate and end up costing him or doing something along those lines. We still need. Carmelo hasn't turned heel yet.
No,
we still need that part of the story. We still need the overwhelming support for Trick to really build this dynamic, because obviously this is going to be away from the championship once we get the actual match between these two. But this is gonna be one of them mid-card raucous bangers. Like, like it's gonna feel like a main event in the middle of a show because of how they're building it and everything. So they're in no rush to tell this story, and every step they're taking so far is just perfectly placed.
It's brilliant, man, and I just love the fact that it's Lexis King, someone who is new to NXT but not new to us in terms of who, we know who he is, his background, we know who his father was and what his father was about, and all that stuff. And as much as he's kind of doing this whole I'm not my father's son kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yes, you are.
Yes, you are.
You very much are. You are exactly like your father.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly the same. And I love that. I love that dynamic completely. Moving our attention just away as well from NXT. We go back to ROH. It's very interesting. We've been talking about the returns and the new people, and now we're seeing Ronda Rousey in ROH. Before she even turned up in ROH, she was on the Independence Wrestling Revolver. Her and Marina Shafir, her very good friend, took on Billie Stark and the ROH Women's Champion Athena in a tag team match. It ended with Ronda and Marina picking up the win, but by disqualification when Athena hit, I think it was Ronda with a Women's Championship belt. And then they've had the rematch on ROH. The one bad thing for me with the presentation of this whole thing, ROH that aired on Thursday started with Athena putting out an open challenge. Her and Stark then walked off screen, and then Marina Shafir walks on, makes a phone call. Who could that be? We kind of knew, it was pre-taped, blah, 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 the rest of it's fine, no problem. But then the show goes on to announce all the matches that are happening on the night, and they announce the tag team match in full. And I'm like, wait, huh? Then when it actually happens, obviously no one in the crowd knew that Ronda Rousey was turning up. So then we get this massive surprise pop from the crowd, but yet we already knew that the match was happening. One big mistake from ROH. It wasn't done well. But going back to the positives, we're about to see, very much likely to see Ronda Rousey versus Athena for the ROH Women's Championship. Gerard, what are your thoughts in terms of the possibility of Athena's undefeated streak or singles undefeated streak coming to an end at the hands of Ronda Rousey?
Well, I don't know. And my I don't know is I'm not 100% sure that that Ronda Rousey is doing more in Ring of Honor and AEW than what she just did. Right. My understanding and the things that I've seen is it's kind of a one-off type of thing. And so I think it would be a wise move for Ring of Honor and AEW to see how they can secure Ronda Rousey. I also then think, and I'm going to hit this quick and come back, I think this is the danger of tape versus live, because you cannot have a surprise of that magnitude. Right. And it got out the night it was taped. And so it put them in a quandary, because how do we act like it's a surprise when the whole wrestling world already knows? So that's where they're like, oh, all right, well, we'll just tell you, completely ignore the fact that 30 seconds ago you saw her make a phone call. Ignore that. With that said, I think it has potential. If the match happens, it could be a great match, because I think this was the best we've ever seen Ronda Rousey. The absolute best. And maybe it was because she was just having fun. She was enjoying herself. She didn't feel pressure. Maybe because it was a smaller crowd. I don't know. But it definitely felt like Ronda Rousey was having fun. The question is, would Ronda Rousey want to commit to a full-time wrestling schedule again? I don't know. As full-time as Ring of Honor is, right? I mean, like, they're not traveling the world and they don't have the WWE schedule. So I'm not sure. I think it could be a great match. It'd be a fun match. It'd be something we hadn't seen before on a one-on-one and be a real challenge for Athena. Strangely enough, if it happened, I think Athena wins.
Interesting. So with the match, if it happens, you get the possibility of Athena losing out on her streak to Ronda Rousey, but then you also get, Ronda Rousey with, the magnitude of her, of her status and all the rest of it, losing to Athena. Mex, which one do you think is the better choice for both women involved?
I think Athena wins. That's the choice we go with. The penny dropped for me about a month, 6 weeks ago, when I realized Athena's better off in Ring of Honor. There is nothing for her on AEW TV. Unfortunately, she's above what they're doing with the TBS division, and that's brilliant what they've kind of cultivated that into. But she's above it at this point. And there is no women's world title division. There is Shida, who they trust and rely on, with whoever the other contender is going to be, or whoever's carrying the belt. There is no division. If Athena was to go up to AEW main roster, she just falls into some type of obscurity, I imagine. Ring of Honor, she's the champion, undefeated champion, long reign, playing out other stories with her misfits and that in training, like minions. Sorry, she's doing way more.
Yes,
and for something that's not televised, she's getting loads of exposure. She just fought one of the top women in the industry, combat industry, not just wrestling, and it wasn't on TV. What does she need to go to AEW for? Like, if you can continue these performances or at least ride the wave until it falls off, like, she's good, she's comfy, she's being paid. Of course, she probably wants to be on TV, but like I say, what's really happening on TV? Ronda, I think, like Gerard said, it's just probably a short-term deal, but to have Ronda on your CV, it still counts. And to beat Ronda would count. So, you know, I think that's the right thing to do. Let her kind of absorb all of those powers. And then whoever the woman is that eventually defeats her, that's going to be a big feat sort of thing. But, yeah, let Athena cook in Ring of Honor. I wouldn't be in any rush to kind of move her.
For real. And I think the beauty of where Athena is and what's happening with Ring of Honor with the women's division, earlier on that same card, we had a fatal four-way with Diamante, Kiera Hogan, Trish Adora, and the eventual winner of the match, Willow Nightingale. And to see those ladies kind of, you know, battle it out, Ring of Honor felt so black.
Big. So black and big, yeah.
Big and black. Big and black, so black. Because we had the men, the men's had a four-way match that had Lee Johnson, Willie Mack, and Fred Rosser. I can't remember his first name, but Cartwheel was also in the match as well. Lee Johnson came out as the winner in an amazing performance from him. You know, but to go back to the ladies, to see these ladies come through and then have to face Athena to kind of put their name on the map. That's where Athena needs to be. She now established herself as the woman to beat. If you can get a match with her, and whether it be a good performance or a win, you're winning. You're winning. So to get rid of Athena would kind of, it would destroy that women's division. Not to say that women's division can't thrive without her, but it's in a very, very good place right now with her at the top of it. And it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. The other interesting part of it is that during that whole four-way match with the ladies, obviously they're doing the whole talk, the build up to Final Battle, which is happening in a couple of 2 or 3 weeks now. Willow won the match, and it was talk of she's won 6 matches in a row. She gets another couple under her belt. She can make some noise and challenge for the women's championship. But then obviously we've still got this whole thing with Ronda. If Ronda's a short-term thing, who faces Athena? Is it Ronda? Is it Willow? Is it a three-way?
You know what I wish? I wish they would take the reins off of Trish Adora and let Trish Adora cook. Let Trish Adora ultimately be the one to beat Athena. Because to me, I think Willow has had a number of chances to do it.
True.
And I don't know what else Willow needs to do to win that match. I mean, Willow has to go to a place she's never gone and a place that I don't think she's willing to go, So I think Trish Adora is the person if they let her cook and let her develop and do that. That would be amazing. Or of course, I think Billy Starks becomes the person, the person that's being trained, the teacher versus the student. Like we've seen this story, but it would hit different in this particular space. I think it's one of those two.
Well, who do you think should beat Athena?
Yeah, I was going to say, if not Billy, the things with Willow, I would have said Willow some months ago. Again, Willow is probably cemented within this TBS division. She's in and around that. I wouldn't bother. I think we need to even like really wake up Kiera Hogan. Contender. But yeah, I guess with the story being told, Billy Starks would be the best choice, I think, at this moment. Trish Adora eventually could be good, just not by, if we're saying final battle, then obviously that's probably a bit too soon. But if we were gonna take this title past final battle, then I would probably say Trish Adora as the first choice.
And the thing is, I think the whole storyline with Billy Stark is phenomenal, and yes, it makes a lot more sense right now. If she was the one to eventually beat Athena, and she also put in an amazing performance on Thursday in that tag team match as well.
Sure did.
For an 18-year-old, you can add that to the whole story and add that to the accolade when she eventually beats Athena as well. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I think Willow. I think I'm in the same place as Gerard in terms of her having so many opportunities and not kind of being able to beat Athena yet. It's not to say that she can't and it's impossible, but it's kind of like, all right, let's move away. If you haven't done it now, you're gonna have to kind of start over with her if you're gonna put her in there, or just move away from there altogether and have her focus on that TBS thing as well with Statlander, Hart, and Blue as well. So I think Willow probably shouldn't have won. Probably shouldn't have been in the match, to be honest, because it makes sense for her to win given the opponents that she was facing. But at the same time, it would have been better for someone else to win and then try to chase Athena after that. But it is where we are. It's where we're at. Our time has so longer, but it's fine. It's fine. This has been WrstlXtra. You're watching on the WrestleManiac UK YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click the notification bell to know when this guy Mex puts out all his reactions to WWE, AEW, everything else in between. You can find Mex on the WrestleManiac UK Instagram and on X as well. Also, find this guy on Wrestling's YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow the Mandem as well. You can find the omnipresent Gerard Bonner on all things Bonafide, WWT Live, The Nightmare Factory, his own show, The Faction Show. I forget about that one all the time. IWE, All Caribbean Wrestling. I don't know how many more there are. He's everywhere. He's just everywhere. Just find him. And on YouTube, ranting about the IWC as well.
And Ashe this Friday.
And Ashe this Friday. Jeez.
This Friday.
1st of December,
Wow. Yo, that's gonna be incredible. That's gonna be incredible. Check that out. You can find me on the Black Wrestling Alliance Instagram page and BWA Dazzle on X. Guys, this has been our show. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you again next week.
See you now.